The Valkyrie ambassador's mandibles clicked with barely concealed contempt as she addressed the Galactic Council. We have deposited 8,000 of our genetically inferior offspring on the human colony of New Terra. Let them choke on the burden of our unwanted. Ambassador Andrew Chun sat perfectly still in the human delegation pod, his expression unreadable. Beside him, Dr. Stephanie Rodriguez, Earth's chief xenobiological advisor, made a quiet note on her datapad. Neither showed the shock that rippled through the other delegations. The Valkyrie had expected outrage. They had expected threats of war. What they got instead was silence, followed by Andrew's calm voice. We acknowledge receipt of the children. Thank you. The council chamber erupted in confusion. 3 months later, Andrew stood in the observation deck of New Terra's primary nursery facility, watching through the transparisteel as hundreds of Valkyrie infants, each no larger than a human newborn but covered in iridescent chitinous plates, were being fed, cleaned, and sung to by human caretakers. The initial medical scans are complete, Stephanie said, walking up beside him with a thick datapad. They dumped these babies because of genetic defects. Want to know what those defects are? Andrew raised an eyebrow. Enlighten me. About 40% have slightly asymmetrical carapace patterns. Another 30% have mandibles that are 0.03 centimeters shorter than ideal. The rest have various cosmetic variations in chitin coloration or antennae length. She shook her head in disgust. Nothing that affects their health or cognitive function. They're perfectly healthy babies. Eugenics, Andrew said quietly. They're practicing eugenics and thought we'd be horrified enough to either send them back or let them die. They don't understand humans at all, do they? Andrew smiled grimly. No, they really don't. The Valkyrie expected reports of chaos, of human colonies collapsing under the strain of 8,000 alien mouths to feed. Instead, 6 months after the insult, they received something else entirely. A package arrived at the Valkyrie homeworld's diplomatic center. Inside were 8,000 handwritten thank you cards. Each card bore a photo of a Valkyrie infant, happy and healthy, held by smiling human caretakers. Each card included the child's name, human names, lovingly chosen, and a personal message thanking the Valkyrie for the privilege of raising such beautiful children. The Valkyrie High Council convened an emergency session. This is mockery, hissed Council Prime Esikethar. They dare to. It's not mockery, interrupted their intelligence officer, displaying images on the central hologram. Our surveillance shows they've actually integrated them, built specialized nurseries, hired thousands of caretakers, modified their formula production to match our biology. They're treating them like their own offspring. The council chamber fell silent. Impossible, Esikethar finally said. They are not even the same species. Why would they? Because, came Ambassador Andrew's voice as his holographic form materialized in the chamber via quantum link. That's what humans do. We see children, and we protect them. All children. Any children. 2 years passed. The Valkyrie watched, first with confusion, then with growing unease, as humanity didn't just care for the abandoned babies. They celebrated them. New Terra became famous across human space as the Rainbow Colony, named for the diverse chitin patterns of its 8,000 newest residents. Human children grew up playing with Valkyrie children. Schools adapted their curricula. Parks installed climbing structures suitable for both bipedal and hexapedal youngsters. Stephanie published a groundbreaking paper on Valkyrie child development that became required reading in xenopediatrics across the galaxy. She discovered that the defective genetic variations the Valkyrie had tried to eliminate actually provided evolutionary advantages: better environmental adaptability, enhanced sensory perception, superior problem-solving skills. The traits they bred against, she explained to Andrew over coffee in the research center, were the very things that would have made their species more resilient. They were killing their own diversity. Andrew nodded slowly. Have you seen the latest demographic reports? The birth rate thing. Stephanie smiled. Hard to miss. Valkyrie reproduction has been declining for decades, right? Centuries. They've been so focused on genetic purity that they've bottlenecked themselves into near sterility. Current projections give them maybe 500 years before they can't sustain their population. He paused. But our kids, the 8,000, they're thriving. Genetic diversity is through the roof. 5 years after the incident, A small Valkyrie vessel requested permission to land on New Terra. It came unannounced, unaccompanied by the usual diplomatic fanfare. Andrew and Stephanie met the single occupant at the landing pad, a female Valkyrie whose carapace showed the telltale asymmetry of the defective genetics. "I am Shirka," she said, her translator rendering her clicking speech into English. "I was one of the first. 20 years ago, my parents left me in an abandoned building to die. I survived. I have spent my life in the shadows of Velkar, hiding what I am." She extended a datapad. "There are others like me. Thousands who survived the culling, who live in secret. We have been watching what you did with our children, how you saved them, how you loved them." Stephanie took the datapad, her eyes widening as she scrolled through the data. "This is a list of 3,218 individuals," Shirka confirmed. "All of us defective, all of us asking." Her voice cracked. "Asking if you have room for more." Andrew and Stephanie exchanged glances. Then Stephanie smiled, tears in her eyes. "We'll make room," she said simply. 10 years after 8,000 babies were left as an insult, New Terra had become the second largest Valkyrie population center in the galaxy. The children were teenagers now, brilliant and thriving, growing up bilingual and bicultural. They served as bridges between two species, teaching the Valkyrie refugees that defects were simply differences, and teaching humanity the intricate beauty of Valkyrie art and philosophy. Ambassador Andrew stood before the Galactic Council once more, an adult Valkyrie, one of the original 8,000, standing proudly beside him as New Terra's junior ambassador. "The Valkyrie left us their children as an insult," Andrew said calmly. "They thought we would crumble under the weight of their unwanted. Instead, they gave us the greatest gift we could have asked for, a chance to prove that humanity sees no such thing as an unwanted child." He smiled. "We sent thank you cards. We meant every word." The Valkyrie section of the council remained conspicuously silent. They had learned, far too late, what it meant to underestimate the strange species that saw children, any children, as precious. Humanity, it turned out, had always known something the Valkyrie had forgotten. Diversity wasn't weakness, that it was survival. That